In the modern era of comic books, publishers will often attempt to sell their comics to a specific demographic of readers. It's always taken into consideration when comic ideas are pitched by writers or artists. Perhaps even interests within the comic industry can affect what could be put out for potential readers. But the speculative scenario is this: the forgotten demographic of female comic readers. In modern American comics, the demographic of readers are mostly male and of varying ages or even ethnic backgrounds. But the concept of comics aimed at male readers, or more importantly, male buyers, are tactics that now define all aspects of modern comics, as well as what sort of story, on what sort of character could or should be used. However, this was not always the situation, as in prior decades or prior eras, the demographics of girls or women were just as important to boys or men when a publisher planned comics to be written or illustrated. The genre of American comics in prior times were romance novels. According to information now known, in late Victorian times in Britain and America, there were romance-based stories where the focus in the said novel were of young ladies attempting to find a life for themselves, or navigating a potential romance with a male suitor. Something so basic was so interesting. According to the sales of the time, certain examples of well-known comics for female readers in this scenario were I Love You by Charlton Comics from 1955 through 1980, Girls Romance by DC Comics from 1950 through 1971. Also, these were lines of comics that sold well for decades, and were of the fact that female readers enjoyed these subgenres of comics for times gone by, and it was an extraordinarily credible grouping of comics created by well-known publishers. Conflicting sources had reasons for the decline with girls and women reading comics, but there is harder that the partial disinterest in comics for the female demographic harder that as a result of the lack of female readers, the scope of writing on illustration undeniably pivoted towards the boys or male demographics left, which left the female readers who remained, with the various comic publishers having no other choice but to read the boys or male themed comics instead. This further alienated female readers and caused the demographic shifting of readers to either stop reading or to change their habits to occasionally reading the male comics, but with not as much frequency as the comics before, which were specifically created or catered to what they preferred. In the modern era of comics, estimates have female readers to be extraordinarily small when compared to the modern male demographic of readers, or the amounts of female readers who once actively bought and promoted the sales of such comics in prior eras.